Aloha, my friends, and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. It's Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. We've got high risk in the markets. Of course, we've got the MMRI as our favorite risk indicator, over 318. So we just like to keep playing in this extreme area. So we're going to encourage caution here. We've got quite a few things going on, but it's going kind of slowly and hovering here. And so as long as it builds here, and stays, we're still watching out for quote unquote black swans. We've got the dollar index the dollar is still strong, relatively speaking. The 10-year yield is showing serious instability at 4.8, still kind of hovering and getting towards that 5%. So we'll be watching what's going on. We've got the volatility index is positive, showing that there is fear trades going on as well as gold going up in price. You also had a surge in oil basically in the war. The war front is really driving quite a bit here, and we're going to be watching that moving forward. Precious metals are getting a boost here. We've got the sentiment is generally negative. So we're looking for an equity boost from the war. Watch your stop losses. We've got calls for another rally, which I think is very possible with all of the inflationary pressures we are seeing. So I'd like to take a look at the calendar. And now I'm doing 2 days because many of the numbers that we're getting are pre-market. And I know that a lot of traders here do not do pre-market trading or are not able to. So that means that if you have longer positions, you have to position either prior or watch before they are coming out. So we are looking at housing starts and building permits today. We've also got some Fed presidents speaking in the Fed Beige Book coming out. So tomorrow we've got jobless claims and then existing home sales. So my expectations for the housing is basically kind of heading towards the potty because we had our top months. These are for September coming out. So with our earnings, we've got the treasury bond market heading for unknown destination as it's shedding its key anchors. So this is Arian speaking. Basically, we're in unprecedented territory because they are just inflating at an incredible pace. And we'll have more to support that in just a moment. But the Bank of Japan, which I brought up yesterday, now they're talking about ending possibly their negative rates by the year end. So Bank of Japan is kind of that rogue out there that can do as they like, but they can move the market. So we'll keep an eye on them. We've got the US president is seeking $100 billion for Israel and Ukraine. So this is incredibly inflationary, expanding the supply, giving this money to war. But as we know, this is going to basically people don't want to keep dollars. They keep spreading all the dollars that we have around, chopping them down smaller fractions and giving them to war or whatever else they need. People want to put their money into other things. Stocks are one of those other things, so that could be positive for the stock market. We've got Zelensky talking about our secret long-range missiles being delivered. So if you want a secret, don't tell him. But basically, Russia is just saying this is going to prolong things. They've already lost. We need to just clean up and move on. Israel is asking for emergency $10 billion to go towards these wars. And we don't have this money. So we can't help with what things are going on domestically, and they want to use it internationally for the war. War is, all wars are bankers' wars. Anyway, moving on. So we've got Wall Street's biggest bear, Mike Wilson. He's also predicting an end-of-year stock rally, more likely now, and this is because of all of these inflationary things that we are doing. So as far as real estate, we'll go expand on that now. Home insurance is so high in Florida town, residents are leaving. So they're talking about West Palm Beach, but it's not just there. It's going to happen all across Florida, southern states where they've been having all of these disasters, the flooding, as well as California. And not just with the insurance, but also the taxes. So these are how they're going to make people move from their homes. So in this particular case, they're talking about how last year they paid more than 7 times what they had the previous year and 13 times what they paid when they moved since 2019. So that's only 4 years. 13 times what they had paid before, and it's only been 4 years. So no surprise, we've got home foreclosures are on the upswing nationwide, and I expect that trend to continue. So in this way, I like how he put this, Jim Tobin saying the US housing market will go quote unquote hard into the runway. Different way of saying crashing. So we've also got home builder sentiment dropped as mortgage rates rose higher. So as we said before, the home builders always look forward because they're looking at it as a business and they have to watch their costs. And they were giving incentives and paying down mortgage rates just to get rid of the houses they had. They don't want a lot on the books. So on the retail side, again, Rite Aid, they were planning their bankruptcy now, filing for bankruptcy. Now they're closing 150 locations. This is jobs and other things that will kind of trickle down into this down spiral economy. We've got Apple supplier Foxconn for the chips, saying it's way too late to chase the dominance in cutting edge chips. However, I think there is a support level in that market that they'll find a case for. But we're watching this as more downward pressure. So over to oil, which did surge in this strike. We've got the US and Venezuela. We brought this up yesterday, talking about their deal to lift the energy sanctions. This is all because basically US and EU need another source of oil. So we're trying to woo them now. And by giving them a deal, they're also trying to get control. And part of this is that they're permitting European Union observers. So if we watch exactly what's going on, they're talking about the very highlights of this evil deal. So they also say in the end here, the agreement is not without a safety net should President Maduro fail to uphold his side of the bargain. These sanctions would be reinstated. So basically, we're going to help them. We're going to give them a deal as long as we get their oil at the prices that we want and the terms and agreements that we want, then we're going to help them out. We're not being the good guys here. So on to wars and trade wars. We have Biden meeting with Netanyahu a day after the attack, and Jordan cancelled the summit. So you're going to get plenty of this bombarded at you later because this is part of the where they want your attention. And they're talking about the blast in Gaza. Appears as though it was done by quote unquote the other team. It's more important here. I'm watching the language. Talking about teams here. This is all a game to them. And they are just kind of splitting sides. We really need to watch the alliances here. So on top of this, we've got former Treasury Secretary Liu is the president's pick for ambassador to Israel. So I find it interesting that Treasury Secretary is the choice for an ambassador, someone with basically the financial banking background is who they're choosing. So with this, we're going into this is the most dangerous moment in decades and only going to get worse. Of course, they must fund this war machine because, again, they're killing so many people by doing this, but it's what is going to fund this economy. And if you didn't know, the Iron Dome is basically backed and done by Raytheon. So if we are watching Raytheon and some of these other industries, they will continue to go. With that, I want to bring up Jamie Dimon saying of JP Morgan Chase, of course, the most dangerous time in the world. Again, look at this language and they reuse it. The most dangerous time we've seen in decades, giving a stern warning to investors and saying geopolitics could trigger a deep recession. He gives his 4 ways to hedge. So, his banker, number 1, high yield savings account. Of course, he wants your money back in the banks. I don't agree with that. Treasury bonds, buying the debt. Don't agree with that either. Real estate, as we just saw, that's about to tank. They want to get out of it. So if you get into their real estate investment trust, it funds them out of it. And then alternative assets, this is probably the only one I agree with. They're talking about fine art or wine, and then maybe precious metals like gold, which has retained its purchasing power over time. So yes, precious metals, silver, gold, and what he doesn't mention, cryptocurrency. I believe all of these things that they own, they don't talk about, is what we should be going into. So in this story, Coinbase lobbying efforts, talking about how they're facing a setback from Hamas using it. So when they say, oh, terrorists are using it, we don't have it. As we saw yesterday, the US government has seized over $5 billion worth of it, and they're going to be using it. Yes, it will be manipulated, but I do believe we should hold some if you are so inclined. A couple of lava updates before I let you go. We had a Stanford scientist after decades of study concluding that we don't have free will. Well, could have told you that before. I don't know why they needed decades to study that. It's because we're not protecting it. So again, with the bugs, Tyson Food expanding into insect protein production. So the company is called Protix. Meatpacking giant Tyson Foods with Dutch-based insect protein player. Basically, they're talking about black soldier fly larvae is what we're going to be eating. And this is Neil deGrasse Tyson eating bugs. I think he's got a little green in his eyes. I think they're all part reptilian. That's why they don't mind eating bugs. Anyway, what do you think of this? Leave me your thoughts in the comments if you would. Please just hit the like. And with that, I wish you a green trading day or just a wonderful day in general. Until I see you again, my friends, stay free.